Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is a little bit of a different one. Basically, the New Jersey Jackals are not looking good right now. There is a coach that recently got fired and then went to Instagram to basically write a whole expose on the general manager, John Hunt, and the owner, I forgot the guy's name, Al Dorso, I think it is. Okay, so in his post, he just says the Dorsos, but I think the main guy is definitely Al Dorso that we're talking about here. So the guy that we're talking about today is pitching coach Tommy Lawrence. He was signed by the Rays in 2014, played rookie ball for them, and then after that, bounced around independent league teams like River City, Rockland, High Point, and then obviously now ended up in New Jersey. Also played in the Mexican League this last winter. But that's all besides the point, because he made this Instagram post just showing how bad it is supposedly out there in Paterson, New Jersey. And now, before I get into this, I will say that I have privately heard a few things about the Jackals and how they're run. So going into this, assuming it's all true, of course, we're going to use allegedly a lot here to avoid legal trouble. There is some pretty concrete evidence here, but my point pretty much going into this is that I have heard and been told things about the Jackals privately in the past. Not going to name names because, again, this was information given to me privately, and up until this very moment has not been public, I don't think. But there is at least one, if not more, former announcers for the Jackals that still are owed at least $2,000. And again, that number could be more. I don't know, but I know it's at least $2,000 that at least one of the former announcers of the Jackals is owed still to this day, and has not been paid. And another thing I find curious, and maybe things will come out here soon, but the Dorsos also own the Sussex County Miners, but for some reason, these kinds of issues do not seem to be present over there. Now, I was an intern with Sussex County back in 2019, which I understand is 6 years ago now. And of course, there's probably maybe been development since then. But I know back then, besides a couple offhand comments that I remember hearing, there was no super big issues. People there clearly didn't necessarily like the Dorsos, but there wasn't any huge glaring issues that everyone was constantly bickering about. The worst problems we had when I was an intern there was just funny things like how the camera wells would just flood and there'd just be frogs living in there, and raccoons, which is a reoccurring thing here. But anyway, the stadium, I think to this day, still has raccoons in the ceiling. And again, that might seem bad to you, but to me it was just, it's whatever. It's kind of funny. No one necessarily gets hurt by that kind of stuff. And I don't really have a true answer as to why these problems the big problems at least, seem to be exclusive to the Jackal side and not the Miner side. That's pretty much all I'm saying with that. But let's jump into, I'm going to set up a screen recorder on my phone, and I'm going to show you guys the post, and hopefully it records audio well. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so here we are over on Instagram. We're on Tommy Lawrence's page right here, and we're going to go to his most recent post under the pinned posts here. So this is number one. More context to this as well is that they had a house fire. So that's what a lot of these are. He has a bunch of points down here, and then it's continued down here in the comments. Instagram, for whatever reason, kind of separates them and jumbles up his points for whatever reason. No, it's just a guy replying. So once we get to the comment part, that will be all over the place. Basically, the number one point he has here is that they put their players in the house hasn't been fixed since the 1980s. Hole in the roof. There's a raccoon in there. No one did anything about the house needing repairs. Yeah, there is video of the house fire as well, at least when the police arrived. And it also mentions that the guys who were living there, which is about 5 of them, and him as well, are now living in a hotel, and we can see some of that damage here. There's a raccoon. That's what I meant by by the raccoon. There's a video of him too. And there's the outside of the house. Here is, I guess, video of when the cops showed up. By the way, none of these have actual audio, by the way. If I turn on the sound, it just plays the, like, carnival clown music, which is funny, but none of these videos have actual sound. And here is another video. I guess it was raining at this time. And yeah. And this, I believe, has to do with the food. I'm not sure what this is trying to point out. I mean, one of his points is that, actually, let me go down, is that the players weren't fed after the games like they were supposed to be. But then this video does show food, so I am a little bit confused. I don't doubt his claim, but at the same time, you know, we're showing decent food in this video. I truthfully am not sure what this video specifically is supposed to be showing that's bad. This one, I guess, is just showing a carnival while a game is playing. This one, like, this is where I'm confused why there's no audio as well besides the clown music. Because it feels like this video should have some sort of audio. Like, I think what he's trying to show is, like, you know, loud music or something outside. But this is a point as well. Well, first let's talk about number 3 because it's here. Mountain was neglected to be taken care of, and 3 injuries. This guy was 1 start away from being signed by an affiliate team. I am gonna show more. Sorry, my brain is all mixed up. We are looking at, I guess, just broken equipment. This is definitely the batting cage, which needs to be fixed up, and allegedly they are not going to do anything. We'll get into that. That's really funny. But we'll get to that in a minute. So here's the injury reports. Our trainer sent our GM all the injury reports. Some guys actually need surgery. John forgot to send them to the owners, which led to one guy waiting 2 months to get surgery, and the owners almost getting sued. Oh, number 5, we're already getting... I thought it was a little bit later that we get into this point, but we're getting into it now. The GM used the New Jersey Jackals official Instagram, allegedly, to DM only fangirls. Apparently, there's more screenshots. Okay, so actually, that's the later point. This one is not the OnlyFans screenshot. Neither is this one. This is where we start seeing it. And I will say that in these screenshots, again, I have no reason to doubt him, but at the same time, I don't see anything in these screenshots that prove 100% that it's, you know, John, or that he's using the official account. The only clue that we could potentially have is you both follow ESPN. Another thing we could actually do is go to the Jackals Instagram, actually, because this one specifically says you followed this Instagram account since 2024. We look up some of these. This one he doesn't follow. This one, okay, that's Christine again. Okay, so he follows Melissa, Iris, and Christine. How the hell do you say that? Scalfani? Anyway, give me a second here. Okay, so the Jackals are following 1,500 people. Let's see if anyone comes up. Christine. Okay, so we can, you know, not 100% confirm still, but what we can confirm is that the official Jackals account is following that one girl, Christine. What was the other one? Melissa? I'm not seeing it here. Yeah, Melissa, Iris, I am not seeing as following. But again, that can be not on this account. I don't know, but that screenshot did say that the account that sent that message was following Melissa, Iris. It's also possible, being the nature of what that account is, that possibly it is maybe gone now too. which is also very possible, but we can confirm, Christine, that the New Jersey Jackals follows Christine here. All right, let's move on here. Point number 6. I don't know what to make of this one. GM told all the female intern workers during a live broadcast in which some of the players' parents heard, "I want to know what players you are sleeping with, so make sure you tell me." That is extremely odd. I don't know what to say about that. Now, I'm not saying this happens very often, but one thing I will say regarding that type of stuff is that you will sometimes have situations, and I'm speaking from experience. Again, when I was interning in Sussex County, working with, other interns who were female, they would get hit on occasionally by the players. Now, is that everyone? No, of course not. Did it happen every day? I don't think so. And obviously, there's instances where maybe it happened and I wasn't standing right there as well. But anyway, I'm just giving a little bit of context to say that stuff does happen. But the supposed GM telling interns, "I want to know what players you are sleeping with," I don't know what to say about that one. Working visas for players who are not from this country were neglected, mishandled, miscommunicated, resulting in players not getting jobs. And by that, I assume he means jobs outside of baseball, because the nature of minor league, independent leagues, for one, in the off season, you might need another job. But sometimes, and obviously I have no clue what these players are actually being paid. I do know that occasionally you might have players that might feel the need to take on jobs even during the season. GM and owner threatened to take money out of players' paychecks that lived in the house because it was messy, even though players were packed in a house that had no working toilets, unsafe structural issues, and unsafe living conditions. And then he mentions the fire. Yeah, that obviously doesn't look good. I don't know if you trying to use the angle of, well, it was your mess that caused the fire or caused it to spread, or I don't know what the angle is here. That's the only thing I can think of as to why they would be attacking players for a house fire. And we kind of looked at these pictures, never fixed cages, never fixed the cold or hot tubs, never had a chaplain or Sunday service. I actually didn't know that was something that, it makes sense, but I didn't realize that that was a thing that a lot of teams, routinely had, was the Sunday service. Host families, we were promised host families, but then there was legit zero for our guys. Just crazy how bad the support for the Jackals has gotten ever since they moved out of Montclair. They still have a few dedicated fans, but there's really no one that shows up to those games. I've been to 2 games, and they were both day games where camps were also there. I swear, that's probably some of the biggest crowds that they get all year, is kids who were forced to be there. Playing through a fire alarm at our stadium and playing through a legit concert just outside the stadium. I assume that's what those couple videos were out in the parking lot. I don't really see an issue with the concert thing. Yeah, you can do a little bit better maybe with the scheduling, but it just is what it is, in my opinion, in that situation. The fire alarm, depends on what the situation is. Is it a legitimate fire? Obviously, if a fire alarm starts going off and you're in the middle of play, yes, it should initially be stopped to figure out whether there's a real threat or something. But then, if you can determine that there's not a threat, then, play on. But what I assume he means here is that they just never even thought twice about stopping the game. And again, I feel like I might be putting words in his mouth because he didn't say all this, but if that's a situation that I'm thinking of, that's also a little bit on the umpires too, because the umpires should have the call on stopping the game for something like that. Anyway, again, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I feel like I'm speculating and reaching a little bit with that one. I'm just sort of thinking out loud. No concessions or beer at the stadium, and our ticket sales have to be worst of any pro team. I kind of just talked about that. I had more fans in my college summer ball games at any game we had this year at Hinchcliffe. Went to the Dunkin' Donuts legit down the road, and they had no idea who New Jersey Jackals were. Yeah, honestly, with that last statement, you kind of get that with any team, to be honest. Maybe they don't have it open for every game. Like I said, I've attended 2 games there. Actually, three. Two Jackals games, and one was a football game. But the concessions have been open for every game that I've been to. And at both the Jackals games, they did sell beer. The football game was a college game, Division III college, so they didn't sell beer at that one, but that's normal. But that's not to say that, like, for a Wednesday game where probably less than 100 people are there, that they just don't open it at all. Again, I'm not disputing his claims. I'm just saying that my personal experience, I have seen the concessions open every time. But again, those were days where groups of kids were there and they could actually probably make money. So it wouldn't surprise me that, like, on normal nights they might not open them at all because they're just not going to make money. City Patterson had a huge water main break. We still played games that allowed no fans. We couldn't even use the toilets in the locker room and instead had to use porta potties. This point I actually don't have an issue with. I mean, every league wants to get as many games in as possible, as long as it's safe and everything, and I feel like it was safe. Yeah, it's not ideal to not be able to use toilets and have to use porta potties, but I feel like that's just sort of like a compromise sort of thing. In my opinion, I actually do not have an issue with the team with this point. Obviously, obviously Tommy disagrees, and that's fine. But, like, I don't know. I just don't have an issue with that one. It just feels like this is a situation that's out of our control. Let's make the best of it and still try to play games. But again, I am also an outsider. The day, 12 hours later, I'm not sure what the day is. Is that the day the house burned down, I'm guessing? Our GM, John Hunt, was at the Yankee game, which is the same day our team house burned down. I assume that's what the day is the house fire. I think the receipt date is just unrelated here. I assume he wants to talk about the fire, and he's like, I'm at a Yankee game, call you in a few minutes. And given just this context, he might not know that there's something legitimately wrong happening. Again, I'm just being as fair as possible here. I am on Tommy's side here, but I don't think there's enough context given here to say, like, oh, John Hunt's an asshole, and he probably is, but for this specific situation, I don't think there's enough evidence to be like, oh, he's an asshole because he was at a Yankee game, And here's a screenshot that was never even looked at, which does paint him in a more negative light than the last screenshot. He's just asking, what are they doing about the stuff? Answer me. And did not answer. And I guess that's what led to this post. Had me living at the house, so I was in a hotel the last couple of days, so technically homeless at the moment. But don't worry, the ownership gave me 30 minutes to get out of the locker room and then another 30 minutes to get my stuff out of the hotel, and don't have any of this stuff from the house. Never got anything from the house fire, which is legit all my clothes, TV, Xbox, but I have to be out in 30 minutes. Don't have much to say about that one. That is just shitty. And the last point here is they brought an armed guard into the coach's office to fire me. For what reason? That is so weird. That is something where 100% the GM should be telling him directly. This one I'm taking a firm opinion on. And that same guard apparently told the manager to control the players, and then the manager resigned. They're without a manager right now too. And then once the players found out they were fired, they went absolutely ballistic on John Hunt, where if said players took over the armed guard and took his weapon, or worse, the guard felt threatened, having 25 players yelling at the GM that he opened fire, things could have gotten way worse. Okay. The list can go on and on, but one thing is certain, Dorso should not run a professional baseball organization. John Hunt should never be a GM. Baseball team, again, they're all terrible humans. So, what I took away from this, again, is ownership 100% is also to blame, but I feel like GM definitely more so to blame as well for everything here. I don't really have much else to say. I kind of shared my opinions throughout the video. But again, I will stress that the Dorso is also on Sussex County, and to my knowledge, there's not anything majorly stupid like this going on over there. I feel like the GM of the Miners at least knows what he's doing, and that is enough to not have this kind of stuff happen. I don't have much else to say. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully, I don't become a baseball drama channel, but I feel like someone needs to talk about it. Even if this video gets like 10 views, at least more people know about it, because I just don't know if the Jackals are like, big enough for like, the news to pick up. I would love for local news to pick up on this, but I just don't know if they will. Like the Gastonia situation, because honestly, this feels almost similar. I didn't make a video on the Gastonia situation because how I found out was actually from the local news a couple of years ago. So it's like, they got it. But this, I feel like it's just this small thing. And yes, it has over 400 likes now, but I don't know. It just needs to get out there, I guess. I don't want the Jackals to go away or anything like that, but like, if you can't run this team, then sell it to someone who can, and as another point is, like, I love the idea of playing at Hinchcliffe, but the thing is, just no one is going. Like, make amends with Montclair and play there again. You had a better fan base at Montclair than you do at Hinchcliffe, because literally no one is showing up to these games at Hinchcliffe, and it's just going to kill the team entirely. So yeah, that's it. Sell the team.